Welcome, brave viewers, to our epic journey through the annals of time. Today, we witness the tragic fall of a grand empire. For one grand millennium, the vast city of Constantinople remained a shining beacon of hope. Its legendary Theodosian walls repelled countless fierce armies, standing as an unbroken shield. However, in the fateful spring of 1453, a massive new storm gathered on the dark horizon. Sultan Mehmed II arrived with absolute resolve, bringing a weapon that would change history forever. The Byzantine Empire was once a vast and mighty power, stretching fiercely across the entire known world. Now it is merely a fading shadow of its ancient glory, confined strictly within a single fortress city. Emperor Constantine XI looks out with heavy sorrow from his ancient, crumbling stone watchtowers. He witnesses an endless ocean of Ottoman tents, covering the once peaceful plains of the Bosphorus Strait. 100,000 fierce enemy soldiers wait patiently for the Supreme Commander's absolute final order. Mehmed II is young, but possesses an unyielding, burning ambition to conquer this great capital. He understands perfectly that traditional swords and arrows cannot pierce these ancient, towering fortifications. According to historic records, he hired a truly brilliant Hungarian master engineer known as Orban. Orban confidently promised to forge a legendary weapon so powerful it could shatter the walls of Babylon. In the intense, blistering heat of the blazing foundry, Orban directed the casting of a massive bronze monster. This terrifying mechanical creation was named the Basilica, measuring over 8 meters in total length. It required hundreds of remarkably strong oxen and men just to drag it slowly toward the distant battlefield. The overwhelming sheer scale of this heavy artillery piece struck pure terror into the hearts of all who beheld it. On the fateful 6th of April, the truly devastating bombardment of Constantinople officially commenced. Deafening, thunderous explosions echoed right across the strait as heavy stone balls smashed into the defenses. Each massive projectile weighed exactly half a ton, completely shattering solid rock and sending debris flying. The once invincible Theodosian walls finally began to crumble under the relentless daily barrage. A heavy, choking, thick cloud of black smoke and swirling dust permanently obscured the bright Mediterranean sun. Despite the truly overwhelming, impossible odds, the city's 7,000 courageous defenders refused to yield. Every single harrowing night, brave men and women worked together to patch the massive gaping holes with wood. Constantine fiercely fought alongside his incredibly brave soldiers, inspiring them with his unwavering courage. The desperate emperor knew they were completely isolated, with absolutely no reinforcements arriving from Europe. Yet he valiantly chose to stand his ground, fiercely defending the last burning ember of the great Roman legacy. Long weeks slowly turned into months as the brutal and exhausting siege completely drained the city's remaining life. If you were standing in his place, would you fight a hopeless, tragic war, or surrender merely to save your people? Mehmed grew increasingly and intensely frustrated by the stubborn resistance of the starving Byzantine forces. He aggressively ordered his massive fleet to be dragged overland to bypass the huge chain blocking the Golden Horn. This astonishingly brilliant tactical maneuver completely surrounded the completely exhausted defenders on all sides. The unstoppable Ottoman cannons relentlessly continued their terrifying song, pounding the outer walls into rubble. Fascinated historians clearly note that the terrifying noise was so incredibly loud it could be heard miles away. Deep inside the ruined city, desperate, crying citizens gathered in the Hagia Sophia to pray for a miracle. They fervently believed that a divine, holy angel would descend from the heavens to strike down the invading army, but the cold heavens remained entirely silent. and the relentless pounding of the Basilica Cannon continued. Orban constantly and fearlessly pushed his legendary weapon to the absolute limit, risking catastrophic failure. The intense, searing heat from constant firing required the bronze barrel to be cooled with massive amounts of oil. As the bitter end of May finally approached, the vital structural integrity of the main defensive gates failed. Mehmed immediately gathered his elite troops, promising them incredible, vast wealth if they breached the towering walls. The Sultan completely knew that a highly prolonged siege could invite dangerous interventions from other kingdoms. He boldly declared that the devastating, final, and absolute assault would take place on the 29th of May. The terrifying night before the massive attack, an eerie and unsettling silence fell over the entire battlefield. Constantine solemnly attended a truly final, sorrowful mass in the beautiful Grand Cathedral of Hagia Sophia. He emotionally asked for forgiveness from his loyal subjects, knowing that tomorrow would bring only certain ruin. The brave emperor then returned to his dangerous post, fully prepared to meet his deeply tragic and inevitable fate. At the absolute break of dawn, the resounding Ottoman war drums shattered the silence with a terrifying rhythm. Relentless wave after wave of regular infantry charged completely blindly toward the heavily damaged fortifications. The fierce defenders violently fought like lions, repelling the terrifying initial assaults with boiling oil and arrows. But the completely overwhelming sheer numbers of the attacking force began to severely break their exhausted formations. Mehmed then powerfully unleashed his ultimate weapon, the highly disciplined and truly lethal Janissary Royal Guards. These incredibly elite soldiers marched directly forward with perfect synchronization and absolute unwavering resolve. They aggressively fired their heavy matchlock muskets, creating a lethal wall of lead that tore right through the defense. Amidst the chaotic and devastating battlefield ruin, a seemingly minor and tragic mistake changed the course of time. A remarkably small postern gate, known clearly as the Kerkoporta, had been accidentally left unlocked by the guards. The elite Janissaries extremely quickly discovered this fatal vulnerability and flooded directly into the inner city. Absolute wild panic spread incredibly rapidly among the defenders as they realized the enemy was now firmly behind them. The formerly invincible and impenetrable shield of the Byzantine Empire had finally been violently broken. Realizing completely that his truly beloved city was utterly lost, Emperor Constantine made a heartbreaking choice. He aggressively stripped off his vibrant royal purple imperial robes to entirely avoid being captured and humiliated. Drawing his heavy, gleaming sword, he plunged fearlessly and directly into the overwhelming sea of advancing soldiers. He fought incredibly fiercely and tragically perished as a nameless warrior, defending the ashes of a fallen empire. Do you genuinely think his final legendary charge was an act of true heroism or a desperate flight from failure? The majestic ancient city was quickly overrun as the fading remaining resistance collapsed under the sheer pressure. Many glorious centuries of accumulated knowledge, beautiful art, and incredible wealth were instantly lost to the raging fires. The majestic Hagia Sophia, once the absolute glowing center of Christian faith, was violently and ruthlessly breached. Mehmed II proudly rode his triumphant, magnificent horse right through the tragically ruined streets of the capital. He slowly and respectfully dismounted before the Grand Cathedral, entering its sacred halls with a sense of profound awe. The victorious young sultan immediately ordered the magnificent historic structure to be directly converted into a mosque. This completely momentous, world-altering event sent massive shockwaves of pure terror throughout the entire European continent. The devastating and incredibly tragic fall of Constantinople officially marked the final end of the brutal Middle Ages. It clearly and undeniably proved that absolutely no mighty fortress could ever withstand the terrifying power of modern artillery. The thundering, massive, booming echoes of Orban's heavy cannon fundamentally changed the entire nature of warfare forever. With the extremely vital eastern trade routes now totally and firmly controlled by the rapidly expanding Ottoman Empire, desperate European nations were urgently and absolutely forced to look toward the treacherous and unmapped Western Oceans. This wildly desperate and incredibly risky search for entirely new pathways directly ignited the fascinating age of exploration. The absolutely tragic and total destruction of one glorious ancient world inadvertently gave birth to a completely new one. We must always strictly remember that human history is constantly forged in the devastating, fiery crucible of violent change. The truly magnificent and unforgettable legacy of the Roman Empire continues to echo through the modern institutions we build. But the deeply sorrowful, silent ruins of those great walls remind us perfectly that absolutely nothing built by human hands lasts forever. The incredibly fierce, unyielding determination of both the defenders and the mighty conquerors heavily shaped our present reality. Every deeply shattered stone and completely broken sword buried in the bloody dirt tells a story of unbelievable sacrifice. The monumental, terrifying clash between the East and the West at this historic crossroads totally redefined human progress. It is a truly profound and unforgettable lesson on the totally unstoppable and terrifying march of technological advancement. As we solemnly look back on this truly monumental, devastating siege, we see the undeniable resilience of the human spirit. The incredibly haunting memory of Constantinople serves as a powerful testament to the inevitable rise and fall of greatness. We are sadly left to deeply ponder the extremely heavy cost of empire and the entirely fleeting nature of absolute power. The entire global world would absolutely never be the same after the crescent moon proudly rose over the Bosphorus Strait. Let us quietly and respectfully reflect on the completely profound, lasting consequences that a single battle can have on global history. We deeply and solemnly honor the lasting memories of those who fiercely fought and perished for what they truly believed was right. Their incredibly fascinating, enduring stories are deeply woven into the very fabric of the incredibly complex world we live in today. Join us eagerly as we passionately continue to explore the highly dramatic and truly fascinating turning points of our human past. There are undeniably countless more deeply hidden, mysterious secrets and entirely forgotten tales waiting patiently to be uncovered. The fascinating, deeply resonant echoes of the past permanently remain alive as long as we boldly choose to study and understand their meaning. Thank you immensely for eagerly traveling back to the highly tragic and fateful spring of 1453 with us today. We genuinely and truly hope this incredible, emotional journey gave you a significantly deeper appreciation for this historical event. Never ever stop deeply questioning the fascinating, complex narratives that have heavily shaped the dramatic development of civilization. The remarkably vast and incredibly epic story of humanity is heavily filled with glorious triumphs and devastating, heartbreaking losses. Many highly respected, intelligent scholars firmly believe the tragic fall of this city directly sparked the brilliant Italian Renaissance. Incredibly brilliant, desperate Greek intellectuals quickly fled to the West, carrying utterly invaluable and ancient, precious manuscripts. Their unbelievably precious and deeply profound knowledge rapidly fueled a truly massive, unprecedented awakening across the European continent. At the exact same highly dramatic time, the overwhelming, absolute dominance of the Ottoman Empire forced a complete global shift. The highly traditional, ancient Silk Road was absolutely no longer a remarkably safe or remotely profitable path for the Western merchants. Remarkably courageous, legendary explorers like Columbus and Vasco da Gama would very soon set their daring sails into the unknown. The incredibly violent and total destruction of the ancient Byzantine Empire was truly the dramatic, fiery birth of the modern era. It is a deeply fascinating, profound historical irony that a truly crushing and devastating defeat sparked such immense, unstoppable progress. The terrifyingly massive, incredibly destructive Basilica Cannon permanently remains a very dark, haunting symbol of terrifying innovation. Brilliant engineering and revolutionary modern science had absolutely and finally triumphed over the massive, ancient stone walls of antiquity. Fierce Sultan Mehmed II proudly and rightfully earned his legendary, immortal title as the truly great, unstoppable conqueror of the world. His incredibly brilliant, visionary leadership totally transformed a remarkably small, growing kingdom into a terrifying, massive global empire. Meanwhile, the incredibly brave, defiant Emperor Constantine XI successfully achieved a deeply tragic but entirely glorious immortality. By courageously and selflessly choosing to actively die with his rapidly falling city, he forever became an eternal, legendary myth of sacrifice. The highly magnificent, incredible physical empire of the mighty Romans may have tragically perished, but its blazing spirit lived on forever. The monumental, earth-shattering clash of these two highly brilliant, visionary leaders continues to deeply captivate the minds of modern historians. Their incredibly difficult, monumental decisions heavily and permanently shaped the very geographical borders and deep cultural foundations we know today. Looking solemnly back at this highly dramatic, entirely monumental, and historic conflict, we must deeply ask ourselves a truly difficult question. Was the defiant emperor's glorious final stand an act of unbelievable true bravery, or just incredibly foolish and stubborn, blinding pride? Please enthusiastically like, actively share, and immediately subscribe to our growing channel for many more incredibly epic, thrilling historical documentaries.